Transport Minister Barbara Creecy raised concerns over the high number of motorists who continue to disobey rules of the roads. This comes as more than 1,500 people lost their lives on the roads during the festive season. Creecy released the statistics describing the numbers as regrettable, with 6 provinces in the country having an increase in the number of fatalities. And we are now joined by the Deputy Transport Minister Mkhuleko Hlengwa to just look into these numbers, but also what needs to be done. Deputy Minister, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. What is it about the festive season campaigns that you think are not yielding the type of results that are required? Because year in, year out, we have these festive season campaigns and awareness around driver behaviour. But evidently, looking at these statistics, not much is changing.
Well, what is regrettable, of course, is the negative response to the campaigns which we are witnessing. 87% of the fatalities are as a result of human error because of reckless and irresponsible driving and inability to adhere to the rules of the road. It is our assessment that the situation could have been far worse had we not instituted the interventions that we did. If you consider the fact that we arrested or issued fines about 23,000 for people who are not wearing seat belts, you issued 16,000 fines for people who are using cell phones behind the steering wheel, and we had to remove almost 7,000 vehicles off our roads which were unroadworthy. And so it is quite clear to us that particularly as the new ministry, that this has to be a consistent and constant daily campaign which we need to engage upon to drive the agenda of behaviour change on our roads. We did register decreases in the province of Mpumalanga, Western Cape and Gauteng. But if you look at the Gauteng figures, almost 64% of the fatalities in Gauteng are pedestrians, and overall 41% of the national fatalities are pedestrians. So there has to be a shift towards public education around walking behavior patterns on our roads, particularly at night between the hours of 7 p.m. and 1 a.m., where we registered quite an increase in pedestrian deaths. And so the focus now is borrowing the best practice in terms of the interventions that we did over this festive season to make sure that we replicate it on the weekends that we have identified to be of high volumes of traffic, which are your long weekends, the Easter weekend and month-end weekends generally. We have deployed the National Traffic Police on the top 20 priority routes in the country, which had registered quite a number of fatalities over the years, and we saw a decrease on those roads. But what then happened was the drivers shifted to what we call the secondary roads to avoid law enforcement. So what we are witnessing is, one, driver behavior which is inconsistent with the rules of the road, and secondly, there is a deliberate attempt to actually avoid law enforcement.
Yeah, let's quickly go back to the pedestrians because the focus tends to be on the motorists themselves. So in Gauteng, you have over 60% of the fatalities being of pedestrians. Do we know whether this could be linked to alcohol consumption at all? And if that is the case, what needs to be done from that perspective?
Well, certainly alcohol consumption and drinking and walking and drinking and driving have had a direct, contribution to the escalation of the numbers to the extent to which we have seen. We have, seen drinking and driving specifically on one hand, people just no due regard at all, even in the early hours of the morning or at 9 o'clock in the morning, when ordinarily you would have expected that people would socialize and party in the afternoon, but still getting onto the road. Secondly, the drinking and walking requires us now to heighten our interventions of public education, even on simple things like wearing colored clothing, which makes it easier for drivers to be able to spot people, particularly at night. We do need to have a broader conversation, of course, as the country about alcohol consumption, because the World Health Organization statistics place South Africa at number 5 globally in terms of alcohol consumption. So it is a broader societal problem, but it has got a direct impact on road fatalities.
Yeah, and with that said as well comes this conversation around how do we get people to consume less alcohol. There was a proposal that perhaps maybe we should increase the price of alcohol. Do you think that that could go a certain way in trying to curb the number of incidences that are related to alcohol?
Well, we do need to hit the pocket insofar as consequences are concerned for offences on the road. And what we are looking at with the minister is to say, when we roll out ARTO, because we will be, we have revised the timeline for ARTO, is to go beyond just the demerit point system, but to ensure that fines follow the perpetrators, because we believe that that will help assist and help us deal with this problem. I think there is a broader conversation that needs to be had about the pricing of alcohol and about what we pay out of the levies that we charge. Currently, you have a situation where the road accident fund levy comes out of the fuel levy. And I do not see anything wrong with us instituting within the alcohol pricing system a direct charge for the road accident fund as well, amongst others, and road safety, in order to enable us to actually ensure that the user pay principle applies for the alcohol users and the kind of behavior that we see on the road. So if you hit the pocket, you make quite a significant stride towards ensuring that there is a second thought to how people conduct themselves and how they drink their alcohol and where they drink their alcohol. But consequences insofar as what we do when we have caught you on the road drinking and driving, drinking and walking, is of fundamental importance, and that's why we want to build in heightened fining regimes within the ARTO system. And of course arrests, because we believe that they are a deterrent, and we have spoken about with the Gauteng government and the MEC to say, how do we ensure that there's visible patrolling on all the major highways and all the routes where we have picked up that pedestrian fatalities are prevalent, and then arrest people for actually being on those roads when they are not supposed to be. Because, Eldon, the issue for us is that when you get onto the road, the ripple effect of a pedestrian is not just about the pedestrian, but it's about forcing a driver to come to a dead stop and then all the other vehicles. And so you have gotten a ripple effect of an accident or inconvenience on the highway, which escalates the number of crashes and fatalities just out of a single person disrupting or crossing where they're not supposed to be crossing.
Okay. Minister, just quickly on AXA and the issues relating to a fuel shortage. Not too sure if the ministry has been informed around those concerns. But I remember that there was a meeting that was held between the ministry as well as AXA around delays that were caused last year. This was during the festive season. And I understand the minister at the time had said that there will be a panel that would be engaging with AXA to deal with some of these issues that have an impact on its operations. Has the ministry been informed of the fuel shortages and how AXA is dealing with that?
Well, the panel that the minister instituted was into the air traffic navigation systems entity to look at the root causes of the challenges there. That panel is already in place, and the board has been informed accordingly of the minister's intervention. But on a broader scale, the minister is leading an intervention and engagements into the broader realities of what is happening in the aviation sector. I will be in the office today, and I'm pretty certain that we'll receive an update insofar as what is happening at AXA. But AXA is receiving the direct attention of the ministry, and we will be making communication on decisions in due course. And I'm certain that AXA in itself understands the urgency of ensuring that things are turned around, and to particularly in a year such as this one, where we're going to have heightened traffic volumes in our airspace because of South Africa chairing the G20, understanding that there's quite a number of side meetings that will take place. So EXA remains a priority focus for the minister, and the interventions thereof will be communicated in due course. But the panel, insofar as the ATNS is already in place, and the work is being undergone by that panel, and we anticipate their report in earnest.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Mkhuleko Hlengwa is the Deputy Minister for the Department of Transport.